So in the last session, I was talking about pandas package. So if you people remember, I think I told you about exercise also. The exercise which will be like an assignment for you people. You can go through that, the data sets and all those things. I said that you will be getting all those things right. So for that exercise, basically there will be some questions, and those questions are actually really good if you want to understand pandas better, right? If you want to know how pandas can be very useful, what types of problems you can solve with the help of pandas package. So yes, there you are going to need that particular thing. Right? Let me show you. Let me just show you what we have discussed in the last session. Okay, so talking about those packages, let me go to the folder location. So yes, as I was talking about pandas, we already seen this numpy. So this is what we have seen in the last session. Python for data analysis, pandas. Right. So from this one we talked about series, data frame, missing data, right? And talking about these things, group by, merging, joining, and concatenating operations, and data input and output. So here actually I told you that this data input and output, right? This is going to be something useful for you people because data can be from any source, right? This RPY MD file. So I will make sure that you will get this particular thing today itself. Okay. Just let me go through this one. This is what I think we have seen in the last session. That is how to handle missing data with the help of pandas package. We were talking about that particular thing. Right? This is what we have seen how to make use of something called as drop any and fill in. Right? And we have seen something called as threshold. So how many number of non-any values should be displayed? This is what we have discussed in the last session, all those things. And generally, I told you that if it's a numerical column, then we generally make use of mean value of that particular column to replace the NA value, right? This is what we generally do whenever there are NA values or missing values in some database, right? Now, just moving forward, let me just go and try to check out this one, group by. How to make use of a group by in case of pandas package. Let's try to see that there are some examples which are given here. Just confirm that did we discuss this particular example? Can anyone just let me know? Did we discuss this example in the last session? Because what I remember is NA removing the missing values. This is what we have seen in the last session. So can anyone just let me know? Did we discuss this one? This kind of a data set in the last session?
No, sir.
So that means group by is the thing which we are going to start. So what we want to do today now is we want to understand how to make use of group by in pandas, how to do these operations like merging, joining, and concatenating of the data, and then some ready-made operations, some methods which are very useful. We'll talk about that, which are available in pandas, and then finally how to import any data set, whether it's a CSV file, Excel file, or maybe fetching data from some website. How to do that with the help of pandas, that we will try to see. Okay, this is what we need to talk about today. So let me go to this group by. So group by is actually it is very useful. I can say to what you can say to understand the data in what you can say to understand more details about the data or to look at the data in different angles. Right. For example, see what is this particular thing in curly brackets. This is a simple dictionary. Right. What I am doing is I am creating a dictionary with the name data, right? And then I am converting that particular dictionary into data frame. So I am going to get a data frame like this. So let me just show you. See, this is what we have seen in basic pattern. Okay, this is nothing but dictionary. This is a key and this is a value. And value in this case is a list actually. And list, what is list? We already talked about. Okay, so let me first of all create a simple dictionary here. Maybe I will go and I will try to open a new notebook, and in that we will try to do also questions. Okay. So dictionary is a key value here. This is what I am going to do. So obviously, I need to import pandas package. Right. So once it is imported, then only we will be able to make use of pd.data frame. Right. So, I told you, data frame is like you can think of it like a table, and series is nothing but the column in the table. So collection of series is going to be data frame. So here I am trying to create a data variable which is nothing but a dictionary, and in which I have these keys: company, person, and sales. And the corresponding values are this: Google, Google, Microsoft, Microsoft, Facebook, Facebook. And these are the names of the people, and these are the sales which are generated by those people. Let me just run this. So data dictionary is going to look like this. This is my dictionary, right? You can check it, right? You know the basic command in Python which is available to check what is the data type. So it is nothing but dictionary. So I am going to convert this particular dictionary into data frame. So how? With the help of PD, pandas. So pd.data frame, I'm just going to pass it as a text. This particular argument is a dictionary. And now if I go and if I try to check my data frame, you will see that it's converted into data frame. Now based on this, let's try to understand what is group by now. So we will make use of this particular example, and then we will try to see how group by can be used to analyze this particular data. For example, suppose if suppose I want to know sales according to the company name. So yes, that's possible with the help of group by. Right? So suppose maybe I want to know the count of the people. So yes, you can go and you can actually count number of people. All those things are possible. Or maybe I want to know what is the sales according to. Obviously, here there is no repetition in case of name. But even if there is a repetition, actually we can go and we can find out that kind of information. What is the total sale of a person, or what is the average sale according to the company name? Right. So that means I mean to say that you can go and you can group by the things with respect to certain variables. For example, see now this particular data, I can suppose I want to know what is the total sale with respect to company. So total sale of Google is what? 200 plus 120. So it is going to be 320. Then Microsoft. So what's going to happen is these two values are going to be added. For Facebook, these two values are going to be added. So that is nothing but group by. That means we are trying to group by according to company variable, company name, right? So like this we can do with the help of this group by method which is available in case of pandas. Let's do that. See, what am I going to do is df.group by method I am going to do. I am going to make use of, and then I want to group by which column? That column I am going to give it. So I want to group by with company, right? So this is going to be the object which is going to be created here. So df.group by of company. If I go and try to run it, you'll see that it's object of the type pandas, right? And it's a group by object. And this is the location on the memory where it is actually stored. Right? It's actually hexadecimal location. Right. Now what am I going to do is I am going to assign this particular thing to some variable. Not necessary, but yes, that is a systematic way. So this particular thing I am going to assign to some variable. So just try to give some name which is meaningful. Right. So by underscore company, I am going to run it. Now if I go and if I try to run by underscore company, it is going to show me what is this. That is again same thing. Right. So I haven't yet used it. I am going to make use of that now. So this is the object which I have created, that is by underscore company, and it is a group by object from pandas. That is the thing but data type. Next thing, now as this one is created, now I want to see average. I want to see average of the sales by company name, right? So I can go and I can do that. Maybe average or sum, whatever you want. So name of the object is by underscore company. And what I want to see, suppose I will include the same thing mean. Now, how it actually understands that it needs to find out the mean of the sales only, because always remember what mean is going to do is it is going to take a numerical data. If you can see that in this case the output in this output it did not consider the person column, that it considered only sales, because obviously to find out the mean you are going to need numerical column only. Right, so here you can see that average sales according to the company we got. So whose average sale is greater? So you can see that Facebook's average sale is greater as compared to Google and Microsoft. Similarly, we can go and we can actually try to find out some other things also. For example, by underscore company dot and then press tab button, you will get number of things here. Right? Maybe some count. Suppose if I go with count, in count what will happen? Count can be applied to people column also, or what you can say is yes, person column also, right? So here it is going to show me whatever the count of the people is. So Facebook, how many number of employees are there for Facebook? 2. Right? You can check it. For Facebook, 2 number of employees, Carl and Sarah. So similarly for other companies also. and how many sales as it's a count. So how many sales? Obviously two to sales. So this is actually a count according to company name, right? So you can look out for, I think there is something called as sum also, by underscore company dot. It will check whether it's available or not. Yes, sum is also available. So what sum is going to do? Sum is just going to calculate the sum of the sales. So you can see that for Google as we calculated, right? 320 is the sum. Similarly, Facebook and you can say Microsoft. Right? Now, whatever you are able to see, this particular thing, right? If I go and if I try to change the type of this particular thing, we see that this is nothing but data frame. Okay, so even if you are trying to group by the things with respect to some column or variable, it is still going to be data frame. That's why I told you it is just a way of looking at the data in some another, right? So this is again going to be very very useful when we will try to play with some data sets before creating the machine learning models. Okay, so that's a simple thing what group I can do. So there are other things also we will try to talk about. Okay. Instead of this one, what I have used this, instead of this particular thing, I use this particular name because this thing I just assigned it to this particular variable. We could have done like this also. Standard deviation also you can find out, right? According to company name, minimum value, maximum value, count I have shown you. This is something important. Describe. Describe. Remember, we are going to come across describe again and again. Once we are done with this pandas and then Seaborn, we will try to talk about next package as Seaborn also. Once we are done with those packages, you will see that this describe is actually you are going to come across describe again and again. Describe is going to show you a lot of what you can say, a lot of statistics actually, and which is going to be very very useful. Let's suppose talking about some other things like by underscore company dot. This is the thing but standard deviation. Okay? You just go here and you will be able to find out the standard deviation. Similarly, I can go and I can as shown in the IPOMD file, I can find out the minimum sales, right? So group according to the minimum sales. So for Facebook, Carl is the person who generated minimum sales. So you can check. For example, if I go to Facebook, so whose sales for Facebook is lowest? Carl, right? So it is just showing us sales of those people who generated minimum sales. So then you can actually you could have gone for maximum sales also, right? So something like this. Right? So for Facebook, Sarah generated maximum sales and Carl generated minimum sales. That is 350 and 240 respectively. Right. Now talking about describe. So by underscore company dot describe. So describe is a method which you can directly call. If I go and if I try to see, now you can see that it's going to show us a lot of statistics. Right. Now how to make use of all these things. For example, just try to look out for Facebook. Now, what is the count in Facebook column? 2. So count is shown. What is the mean of the cell? 296.5. What is standard deviation? 75.66. What is minimum cell? What is 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile, and 100 percentile? That is maximum. I hope you people are able to understand this one, right? 25 percentile. Suppose again, see, this is nothing but what 0 percentile. This is nothing but what 100 percentile. And let me tell you, you might be knowing about this one. 25 percentile is actually also called as quartile one, right? You might be knowing that the quartile one, or it is actually denoted as Q1. Similarly, 50 percentile is quartile two, and 75 percentile is quartile three. I hope you are very much aware with percentile, right? What do you mean by 25 percentile is 269.75? How are you going to interpret this? The the sales for Facebook, right? The sales value 25 percentile sales value for Facebook is 269.75. What is the meaning of this? Are you people are aware about percentile, right? Can anyone tell me how are you going to interpret this? If it is showing that 25 percentile of the sales for Facebook is 269.675. What is the meaning of this? I mean, I am just asking you, what do you understand the percentile? Percentage and percentage, right? They are different. Are you getting my question, all of you? What does it mean? It is showing that 25 percentile for Facebook is 269.75. So what is the meaning of that? Or 25 percentile for Google is 140. What is the meaning of that? I think you people can unmute them for it. I just need to know. I'm just trying to cross check whether you people are aware about it or not. If we divide between mean and max, four equal parts. Yes, quartile divides into four parts. Percentile divides the data into 99 parts. That's right, Yunus. But can you just let me know in simple language what do you understand if I say 25 percentile of the cells for Google is 140? 25 percentile of cells for Google is 140. What is the meaning of this? How are you going to interpret it? Whatever you said, it
I
divides.
think this is the lowest score that is greater than 25 percentage of the total.
Lowest score that is greater than 25. Yes, something like that. So, in other words, just Vaishnavi is saying that 25% values are less than 140. Right? Yes, that's right, Vaishnavi. 25% values are less than 140. It means that, see, I will again, maybe, so many of you might be aware about it already, but yeah, this is something which we are going to need later on. That's why I'm just trying to make sure that everyone knows it. So, suppose if 25 percentile of cells for Google is 140, it means that 25 percentage of the data, 25 percentage of the complete records in Google, right? 25 percentage of the complete records in Google column are having less than or equal to 140 value. That means there are 25 percentage of the total data which is actually less than or equal to 140 in case of Google. I hope you people are understanding it, right? It means how many records are there actually? Only two records are there. Only two rows are there for Google, right? So you can go and you can check the values. One is 140 and let me check. See, if I go and if I try to show you the data frame itself here. Now just check for Google. So you can see that which are the values for Google. 200 and another one is 120, right? So two records are there actually. So whether you say 25% of the data is less than or equal to 140, right? So total how many records we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So you just go and find out the 25 percentage of 6. Near about right. 50% is 300, 1 point something. Just take it as 1. So I mean to say that it is just trying to tell you. Yes. Maximum minus minimum into 20. That is a formula actually. Yes, that's right, News. Whatever we have said, that's right. But I just want to tell you that how to interpret this. So simple thing is that if I am saying that 25 percentile for Google is 140, it means that 25 percentage of the total data is having less than or equal to 140 values. So for example, how many values we have? 200, 120, 340, 124, 243, 350. Right? Just go and try to take 25 percentage of this particular. Right? So whatever the values you are going to get. So 25 percentage of the values. So what is 25 percentage of 6? What is 25 percentage of 6? 1 point something, I think, right? 1 point something. So it means that, yes, 1.5. It means that either you can take it as 1, suppose let's take it as 1, maybe 2. So it means that there are two values in this data, or maybe one value, whatever you want to take, which is less than or equal to 140. So you can check it. 120 is there, 124 is there. Are you people getting? See, 120 is there, 124 is there. So these are two values which are having value less than or equal to 140. That's the meaning of 25 percentile. Similarly, you can go for 50 percentile. So 50 percentile, 160, right? That means 50 percentage of the values from the total data are less than or equal to 160 in sets. So 1, 2, 3. That is 3 values. right? I hope you people are getting. By chance, if someone is not getting, just let me know, okay? Because as you people are already aware about this kind of thing, I hope you might be knowing about it already. Similarly, you can go for 75, right? So remember these names: quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3. Quartile 2 is also called as median. Okay? So that's how this graph is going to be a very, very important role. We are going to need that. Right? And again, here we are actually able to see the data in this manner. You can go and you can actually reverse rows to column and column to row. That part also actually you can go and you can do it. So that is actually called as transpose. So what I can do is this particular thing by underscore company dot describe, and then I can apply transpose method to it, and then you will see that rows to column and columns to rows. This is what is going to do. Transpose, I hope you are aware about, right? So as I press tab button, I have pressed tab button. It is taking some time to show us the methods. Okay, let me see what is the method. Dot transpose. Describe dot transpose. It should work. Let me change this. Okay, here I am missing something. Now see, we will be able to see the same data. It is just that sales is now, see here you can see sales is there, and now company was column earlier. The company is acting as a row. This is sorry, company was a row actually. Company is acting as column. Same information actually, but rows to column and columns to row. That's what the transpose is. Right? In matrix, you might be aware about that. And yeah, we can go and we can index it. As obviously it's a data frame, you can go and you can suppose you want to see the data set of only Google or Microsoft. Just a minute, let me share the screen once again. Good. So what I have done here is I just tried to index it with the help of Facebook. So whatever I am able to see, count, average, standard deviation, minimum value, and all these things I am able to see it for only Facebook. So this is what you can do with the help of Describe. Remember this. Describe is again very, very useful. Okay. So this is nothing but group by. Let me move to the next point. That is nothing but merging, joining, and concatenating. Merging, joining, and concatenating actually most of the points are same. Right? Let me show you with a very simple examples here. We will take a data. See this one. See what am I doing here is here also I am creating a dictionary. See this is a dictionary. This is nothing but dictionary. A, B, C, D are the keys, and here I am giving index. So it means that this dictionary is going to be my data, and my index is going to be 0. So that is my data frame 1. Similarly, I am creating data frame 2, A, B, C, D, okay, and these are the values, but index is 4, 5, 6, 7. And similarly, DF3, the only difference is that index is 8, 9, 10. And then we will go and we will try to concatenate them. Okay, and then we will see how actually we will be how the result is going to be once we concatenate them or once we merge them. This is my data frame 1. Okay, if I go and if I try to show it to you, see this is data frame 1. Similarly, we created data frame 2 and data frame 3, and then we concatenated. Okay, so here data frame 2 is also created. The only difference is what? The only difference is the indexes. If you go and if you try to check in DF1, DF2, DF3, you will see that the difference is going to be because of indexes, right? So let's see what happens here. Let me show you data frame 1. This is data frame 1. Data frame 2. This is data frame 2. Let me just stick to the size, minimize this so that we'll be able to see everything at one place. DF3. Now you can see that we have data frame 1, data frame 2, and data frame 3. Right. So now we want to concatenate them. So we have a direct method here for concatenation. That is nothing but df.concat. This one. df.concat. Concat is the method which I can make use of. Okay. Okay. So what we actually do here is we use df.concat and we make use of all the data frames. See, and we pass it as a argument collection of actually list collection of those data frames as objects we pass. Dot concat. Let me check. Sorry, it should not be df.concat, pd.concat. So pd.concat. Now you just need to go and pass all these data frames as a list: df1, df2, and df3. So simple concatenation means we are just trying to append all the data frames. So first data frame is going to be this one, at 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 9, 10 here. So everything is going to be at one place. So pd.concat, let me check what's d1 is not defined. Okay, it is not d1, df1, right? It should be df1. Now see, this is the result which you will get after concatenation. Concatenation simply means addition, right? At the end of this, so after df1 there will be df2. You can check it. This is df1 till 3. 4, 5, 6, 7 is going to be df2. It is actually df1. 8, 9, 10 is actually df3. So you can notice that as the indexes were different, that's why we are able to do this particular thing, right? And you can check in df1 what do we have is a0, b0, c0, d0, a1, b1, c1, d1 till a3, b3, c3, d3. Similarly df2 and then df3. Right. Now this is actually concatenation on the basis of rows or indexes. Same thing we could have done on the basis of columns also, A, B, C, D. But if you can carefully see, if you can see, you can check that columns are going to remain same, whether it's a df1 or df2 or df3. Now, if columns are going to remain same, then if something is not matching, in the place of that there are going to be missing values by default. That is n. Let me show it to you. See, you people now understand what is axis equal to. What do you mean by axis equal to 1? Axis equal to 1 means we are trying to concatenate on the basis of columns. Axis equal to 0 is by default. 0 means row and 1. So I was telling you that df.concat is going to do concatenation. But here, what are we doing? We are trying to concat on the basis of rows. So what's happening is, see, as we are trying to concat on the basis of columns. Df axis equal to 1 is nothing but what? It's column. And by default, axis equal to 0 is nothing but row. So whatever we tried out, this one, even if I did not write down axis equal to 0, by default, axis value is 0. And 1 is what? 1 is nothing but column. And you can check it. A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. And as there is no match, see, this is going to be, this one is your, so let me just highlight it, data frame 1. So whatever you are able to see, this particular thing is data frame 1. This particular thing is data frame 2. And this one is data frame 3. Now, if something is not matching, then by default it is going to put any values or missing values you can see. Right? So that's how this concat actually works here. Now, talking about some other examples, like we will try to take this particular example. I am simply creating a data frame. This is also data frame. What we want to do is we want to understand merging and joining. So for that, I am just trying to create this particular data. Left and right, these are the names which we are trying to create. Okay. So let me try to run these things. Now, what is the left data frame? In left data frame, we have this one. Okay, you can check that what are the indexes. Right. So in left data frame, you can see the indexes are K0, K1, K2, K3. In right data frame, the indexes are K0, K1, K2, K3. That means definitely somewhere it is going to match. Right. So when I will merge or join, that joining or merge is going to be on the basis of this key column. Right. So K0, K0. If it is matching, then yes, A0, B0, C0, D0. This is what the result we are going to get. K1. Is K1 present here? Yes, K1 is present. The result we are going to get is A1, B1, C1, D1. Let me show it to you how we are going to merge them. So something like pd.merge we are going to make use of. I want to merge this left data frame. Left is a variable here, okay, with the right data frame. If I go and if I try to merge them like this, you can see the result like this. So why am I getting the result like this? Because K0, this K0 was matched with this K0, and that's why I'm able to see A0, B0, C0, D0. So it is actually merging on the basis of row. You can check. Right? K0 is matched, so A0, B0, C0, D0. Similarly, K1, K2, K3. So this is the result you will get after merging. Again, there are a lot of options in case of merging also. You can go here and you can check it. Right? How the merging has happened by default? It is actually inner merging. There are different options for that merging. You can make use of left, you can make use of right, you can make use of outer, you can make use of inner. So those people who are aware about join concept, they might be knowing about it. For example, or otherwise in sets you might have learned something like this. See, this is your left data frame, suppose. This is your right data frame. So inner merging is what? It is going to show you only common thing. This is going to be the inner merging. Only the common things between both the data frames. This is my data frame 1 and this is my data frame 2. Now what is this left option is going to do? It is going to do what? It is going to take the common thing plus everything from left side. What is this right is going to do? Common thing plus everything from right side. Outer is going to do what? Outer is going to take everything. Right? Simply same concept which you might have come across in sets. Right? That is what you can make use of here. But generally we make use of joins now if needed. Okay. So that's what is actually shown here. This is the merging result. And this is another example which is given for merging. The only difference between this example, this one and this example is that here there are two keys, key 1 and key 2. Key 1 and key 2. And on the basis of that, see, on the basis of that, we try to join these particular data frames, left and right. This is just the same thing. The only difference is that the data is same. Otherwise, exactly the same. Okay, now this is what it is going to show. How option you can make use of, right? Suppose if I go and if I try to run the same command, but instead of the default inner merge, I want to join it in this way, outer. So you are going to get something like this. That means obviously you are going to get everything. And in this case, we are going to get the same result because everything is matching. That's why. Whether it's outer, inner, or left, yeah, whatever it may be, left or right, you are going to get the same result because everything is actually matching. Everything means I want to say these indexes, right? That is the example of merging. Let me show you joining also. So for joining, let me create two data frames like this. So left and right. So here if you check how the left data frame looks like. Right. So in left data frame I have K0, K1, K2. And in right data frame I have K0, K2, K3. So K0 is present in both. K1 is present only in left. K2 is present in both. And K3 is present only in right. Now what we want to do is we want to see how to join them. So exactly same thing. Whatever you might have learned about sets, same concept is actually applied here itself. That's why I told you whether it's merging or joining, more or less they are same. There's a little bit of difference only in terms of indexes. Otherwise, nothing, no difference in merging and joining. That's why I said many times we make use of joining. So let me show you. See, this is nothing but the left data frame, this is nothing but the right data frame. Now you can see that this left data frame, right, dot join is the method I can make use of. I want to join it to right data frame. So left dot join right, so it is actually left join. That means everything from the left side will be taken plus only the common things from the right side will be taken. So I mean to say what's going to happen is, first of all, it is going to check is K0 present in this right. So yes, if K0 is present, present is going to be something like this: K0, A0, B0, C0, D0. This is the first to suppose. Now is K1 present here? No, K1 is not present. So K1 will be there, A1, B1. As K1 is not present here, so there will be NA value, as there is no match. But why it is going to consider this particular record? Because we are trying to do left side. Everything from the left side and only the matching things from the right. Then is K2 present here? So yes, K2 is present. So the result is going to be A2, B2, then C2, D2, C2, D2. This is what I should actually get in the result of this particular. Right? Let us see. Let's check this. Now you can check it. A0, B0, C0, D0, A1, B1, NA and NA. That's what I was trying to tell you. You can check that. NA values we are getting here. And A2, B2, C2, D2. Right? Similarly, if you go for right to left, everything from the right, only the matching things from the left. That's what right to left is. Suppose if I go, this is my right data frame, right dot join left, you will be able to see something like this. So obviously this did not match as K3 was not present. K3 was not present in data frame 1. That's why we are able to see 20 vehicles. Okay. So that's in simple words I can say. That's what the joining is. Let's try to move to the next one, and that is nothing but operations. Let's try to talk about which are the operations which you can do with the help of pandas package. Some common operations we will be talking about here. And yes, again, those are going to be important. For example, there is something called as this unique and unique, right? And there are some others also. So for that, we are going to get data. So I am going to create a data set, data frame actually. See, pg.data frame. Manually, I am going to create the data. Column 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Column 2, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4, 4. Column 3, ABC, then DEF, GHI. So I am just trying to pass a dictionary to a data frame. Let me create this particular data frame. We are going to need that for talking about the remaining concepts. So this is my data frame. This is how it is going to look like. Okay. So what do we have in data frame? Column 1, column 2, column 3, and these are the respective values in those columns. Now we want to understand different methods. For example, this is a method just now I showed you. Data frame dot. If you press tab button, you'll be able to see a lot of methods, but you need to remember all those methods. You have. So suppose I want to. Suppose you know that. Suppose I want to talk about maybe. I want to know all the values from column 2. Right. So yes, you can go and you can index the data frame. You'll be able to see all the values from column 2. 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4, 4. Suppose I want to only know about unique values. Right. So let me check df of column 2 dot unique. Let me see whether it works or not. Okay. Now see, I am able to see only unique values 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 and 6, 6, 6. 4, 4, 4 was repeated 2 times, but now it is not showing that. So that's how you can make use of this. So as there is unique is going to show you only unique values. So there is something called as n unique also. N unique is going to show you what? N unique is going to show you number of unique values. So how many number of unique values are there in this column 2? Only 3 unique values are there. Right? That is 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5 and 6. So this is also one method. Unique and unique. That's what is actually shown. Unique and unique we are seeing. Something like value underscore counts. This is also something important. So it's going to count how many number of times a particular value is actually repeated. Suppose the df dot column 2. What is the result for this? We know that this is the result. Now I want to know which value is repeated how many number of times. Right. So you can make use of df of column 2 dot value underscore counts. So it should show me how many number of times 444 is repeated, how many number of times 555 is repeated, and so on. You can check that 444 is repeated 2 times, 555 and 666 1 respectively. Right? So remember this particular method, value underscore counts, again something important which we will get later on. And yes, selecting the data. So this is nothing but what this kind of a thing we already talked about actually. This is nothing but df of column 1, whatever the value which is greater than 2, and in from column 2, whatever the value which is 444. Right. So we are assigning it to new data frame. So that means this particular thing, whatever you are able to see, we are just trying to index. So df of column 1 is going to show all the values of column 1. From that, I want only those values which are greater than 2. And df of column 2 is going to show me all the values of column 2. But what do we want? This is the thing, but what? This is equality operator. So it's going to show us only those records which are going to satisfy this particular condition. So from column 1, I want such values which are greater than 2. That is 4. And from column 2, I want only 4, 4, 4. So if these two conditions are matching, as it's AND, right? That's what is actually shown here. And that result we have assigned it to somebody. Yes, how apply functions or lambda expressions with the help of pandas package. Right. So what is this? Let me show you. Suppose let me create a function. How to create a function? We know that. Suppose this is a function. Df multiplied by 2. It's going to accept some argument. Right. This is how this is what actually we have seen in basics of Python initially. So what this function is going to return? This function is going to return 2 into that number. Right, this is what it is going to return. Suppose if I go and if I want to see the result of MUL2 of 9. So obviously it's going to return the result as 18. So that number multiplied by 2. This is what it is going to do. Now what I want to do is, suppose I already have a lambda expression or a function. Now I want to apply that lambda expression or a function on my data frame. My data frame is this one. From this data frame, let me go with this particular column once again, column 2. Now this is what I have. Now what I want to do is, I want to apply same function on each and every value from this particular result. So what I can do is, I can make use of something called as dot apply. What do I want to apply? I want to apply MUL2. Now you can see that it has multiplied every value with 2. Right? This is how you can make use of dot apply. This dot apply method, remember, it is going to be very useful. Here it's a very smaller example, very easy example, right? But later on there will be a need to write down some regular expressions, right? Some expressions we need to write down, some logic we need to apply, and in that case, this is going to be very helpful. Right? That is what this user defined function we can apply. Similarly, you can apply the functions which are which are actually what you can say default methods of functions which are available in case of Python, like sum, len, all those things you can apply. Let me suppose show it to you. It is given here. So df of suppose again say column 2. This is what column 2 is, and I want to apply something, so I will use apply method. Len is nothing but len, so let me check what is the mistake. This is my df, and this is column 2, the df. Okay, let me check what we have done here. Dot apply len. Len it should have taken actually. Let me see. Okay. The reason it is not giving me the answer for this one is because column 2 is number. Right? So let me take a string ABC string result. Right. So let me go here and let me apply on this, and then I'll be able to see the result. Okay. Similarly, you can go and you can apply some other methods like which is shown in IPy method. Suppose I want to find out the sum. Now let's see what will happen here. Now see what it has done. For column 3, I am trying to find out the sum. So what is this actually? A B C D E F G H I J K A B C D E F G H I F L Z. It is actually concatenation. Instead of this, if I go for 2, now you'll see that it is going to show me the sum. Right? So this is how you can directly apply method instead of using dot apply. Right? That's the basic difference between both. Okay. So column 1 dot sum, you can get the sum of column 1. If you want to delete something, you can make use of del. It's going to permanently delete that particular column. Let me also delete. So del is a keyword. I want to remove the column 1, so I can go and I can remove the column 1 here. Now you go and you try to check here. Now you'll be able to see that column 1 is not there. Right? Earlier our data was something like this column 1, column 2, column 3, and right now it is column 2 and column 3. So del is the method which you can make it. Df.columns is going to show you all the column names. Df.index is going to show you the indexes. In our case, the index is 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's why start point is 0, stop point is 4, state size is 1. Right? So again, this one, remember, df.columns always show you column names. Otherwise, you will see me running all these methods again and again. Df.columns is going to show you column names. Df.index is going to show you all the index names or the details about the indexes. Range, if you remember range method, right? Okay, Ramava is asking then what is the difference between drop and delete. So you can check in case of drop, by default it is not going to remove anything permanently. If you can see this, right? If you can try to run it, you will see that it is not going to delete something permanently. And one more thing is that in case of drop, you have some other options available which are not there in case of delete. You can check this. See, you have something called as access in case of drop. Are you getting Ramava? This is the difference. See, in case of implicit also available. Delete is going to delete permanently by default, but for drop you need to tell it whether true or false. That's the difference. Is it clear, Ramava?
Yes, sir.
Now let's move forward and let's try to talk about what's remaining. Okay, this is my data frame. Yeah, this is done. You have sort underscore values also. So what it is going to do is it is going to sort the values according to the column which you want. So for example, df dot sort underscore values is going to sort according to column 2. You can check it. It is in ascending order by default. Okay? And see, in place equal to false by default. That means your data frame is not going to look like this. It is not it will not be done for permanent. If you want, you can just go and make use of in place equal to true option. df dot is null is something which we will be making use of. This is my data frame. I want to check any null value is present whether it's present here or not. I will do df dot is null and run it. You will see that everywhere it is going to be false because obviously there is no null value in my data. Right? Later on, we will try to talk about some null database, some database, some data sets where we are going to have some null values. There we are going to do this. So here itself, if I go and if I try to do this one, right? So I will get what? 0 and 0. Why I did so? Because I already talked about this one, right? Because you know that false plus false is always going to be 0, right? So the false is 0 and true is 1. That's what I need to say. But in our case, as there is no any value, if I want to count how many number of null values are there, so I can make use of is null. It's going to show me the output in terms of true and false, and then I can go and I can count it. Or sum it up. Not count actually, sum it up. But that dot sum is what we are going to make it of. I think we talked about drop NA already, right? It is going to drop the rows where there are NA values. Filling NA also we talked about. Here there is one more example which is shown here. df dot fill in. Okay, this one we already talked about. This one we have already seen. Okay. Yeah, let me talk about this one. Something called as pivot. See, again, this is nothing but I am just trying to create a data set here. Okay. Now, what am I doing is data is equal to this is a dictionary, right? This dictionary data. Again, same thing, and I'm just trying to convert a dictionary into data. My data frame looks like this. Now, if you look at this particular data, you will see that many values are repeated. Foo, bar, 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 1, 1, 2, 2, 1. So, what happens is we have something called as pivot table concept. What is that pivot table concept is going to do here? Pivot table is going to help you to look at this particular data in different angles. So, for example, let me tell you why we make use of a concept of pivot. Suppose I want to search for x equal to 4. So, if the data is stored in this fashion, what's going to happen is your compiler is going to look out for this row, then this row, then this row, then this row, and then this row, and then it is going to check whether okay, C value is x and D value is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means at the fifth attempt it has got whatever was required, right? So if you have this kind of a data where you have lot of rows, what you can do is you can make use of something called as pivot table. What will happen because of this pivot? The basic use of pivot is it is going to reduce the number of access. Or in short, I can say that if there is a data, so I was saying that if you have such a data, where you have a lot of rows, right? So what you can make use of there is you can make use of something called as pivot, because pivot in that case is going to reduce the time of searching. Right. So let me show you how it can be. So this is our data frame. Now see what am I doing is we make use of something called as df.pivot underscore table. So as a value what, so all these are nothing but what? These are nothing but the arguments. Right. So values, as a value what I want from D column. Let me show it here itself. See. What do we have in D? We have 1, 3, 2, 5. Actual value we have it in D. So the values I want to represent it as indexes. Here indexes are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of that, I want indexes from A and B column. What do we have in A and B? In A we have foo, bar, bar, bar. In B we have 1, 1, 2, 2. Repeated values. So those repeated values we are going to take as indexes. And as columns, what do we want? We want values from C column as columns in our new table. See, what I will do is, let me just name it as new table. Now, if I go and if I try to show you new table, it is going to look like this. So, see, you can check values are from D. Actual values are from D. Indexes are A and B. So you can check it. A and B. The values from A are bar and true. Values from B are 1 to 1. So repeated values. Now that means we have two levels of indexes. This is one and this is another. And columns C, X and Y. Right? So let me show you the same operation which I was trying to do in earlier case. What I wanted to search, I want to know what is the value of X. Right? X4 suppose. So what I will do is I know that the value is bar, this value is 1, then the C value is X and then D value is 4. I know that A value is bar, B value is 1, C value is this, D value is this. Yeah, this is what I want. So if A value is bar, that means I will go with this index. Right? That means this one. What is B value? B value is 1. That means this one. What value I want? I want the value of X. That is 4. So only in one axis I got whatever was required. Right? That's the use of pivot. But let me tell you, this is just depends on the situation what type of data you get. But again, it's also not good to have this kind of indexes, multiple indexes, or of this kind. Again, if you have a lot of indexes like this, again it is going to slow down the process. And that's why. But yes, you can think of using pivot table if required in some cases, definitely. But many times, what I have come across is we do not make use of these things that much, at least for machine learning. Right? But yes, again, it's a good concept to remember. Okay? This is called as pivot. See, on the basis of what I have decided that D should be value and index should be A and B and column should be C. Obviously, for that you should understand the data itself first. What data is available, right? You should have a good idea about it, and then only you can go for this. Okay, I hope you people are at least getting whatever is going on here. Right? So that was about pivot. Let me see. That is all about this particular topic. Let me move to the next one. It is not going to take more than 5 minutes. Data input and output. So how to fetch the data from Excel file, or how to fetch the data from some CSV file. Let's try to talk about that. For that, let me show you the data which is available first. Okay, so here in my case, I think I will have to go to the location actually, where the CSV file and Excel file is stored. So data analysis of pandas. Okay. Now in this case, let me show you a CSV file. See this example.csv file. Let me open it. Suppose let me open it with Notepad. Suppose. Now see, I hope you people understand CSV file. CSV stands for what? Comma separated value. So what do we have in this? A, comma B, comma C, comma D, and then 0, comma 1, comma 2, comma 3, and so on. Right? It's a CSV file. Now I want to read this CSV file. I want to import this CSV file with Panda. First of all, what I should do is, first of all, I should check whether I am in the correct directory or not. Right? So how to check your current working directory? PW. Now you can see that my current working directory is also same. Where this file resides. The file which I want to read, that file is already present here. And that's why I don't have to give the complete part. What I can do is, I can directly go here and I can make use of pd dot. As I want to read CSV file, so I will use pd dot read underscore CSV, and here I will give the name of the file which I want to read. Which file I want to read? Example, and then just shift enter. Now see, whatever the data which was present in this file, now that data is present in Python. So we have imported it. So if I go and if I type df equal to, now you can see that in df variable everything from that example.csv file is imported. This is how we read CSV. Similarly, there is one more example for Excel file. Let me open this one, Excel underscore example. Okay. Suppose let me show you the contents of this particular file. We are going to read this file also. So how to read a CSV file? Pandas.read underscore CSV. Similarly, how to read Excel file? That's what we are trying to see. We can check that I have a data in this worksheet sheet 1. You can check it A, B, C, D columns 0, 1, 2, 3 are the indexes and these are the values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 till 15. Okay. Now let me show you how to read this file with the help of Python. right? And one more thing is that, see, this data frame, if I go and if I try to check the type of this, it's a data frame. Always remember, whenever we try to import any data from external source in Python with the help of pandas, that is actually going to be data frame only. Why it is important? Because we know which operations we can do with on data frame. See, what methods you can run on data. Lot of methods you can do. So once your data is in Python from some external source, you can apply all the methods which we have learned in pandas on that particular data set. Right? Let's go for reading the Excel file. So pd.read underscore Excel. What is the name of the file? That name I will have to give here, Excel underscore sample. Right. So I will give that particular name in double quotes or in single quotes. Excel underscore sample. See, I am pressing tab button. That's why it is just auto completing one. Let me go and let me see whether it reads the file or not. Now you can check it. It has read the file. If I do not want this particular column, yes, I can actually omit that. No problem. So suppose this is my data frame 2. Let me show you here. Now see, everything from that Excel file is now imported here. Right? So this is a simple example how you can go and you can read CSV file and Excel file. This is what I have shown you. Right? A particular sheet, if there are multiple sheets in your Excel file and if you want to read a particular sheet, you just need to give sheet name. That's it. I think this is actually sheet underscore name. Now they have changed it. Let me check. Now see, it is sheet underscore name. So in my case, I think this is the only sheet which is available. Yeah, that's the only sheet which is available. Sheet 1. This is how you can read a particular sheet in your Excel file. Now the next thing is, let me tell you how to read the data from some HTML page. Right? Okay. Uh, just a minute. So let's see how to read the data from HTML page. So for that, see, for that you are going to need some packages actually. You need to install some packages. But remember, you can do whatever you can do with the help of HTML. You can actually do that thing with the help of one more package that is called as Beautiful Software. That we'll be discussing in one of our applications. I'll be showing you one application as a part of your syllabus itself. I will try to create a mini project kind of a thing and I will show it to you. So in that case, we will make use of Beautiful Software. But here, I just want to tell you simple thing. See, suppose this is the link I have. Right, this is the link I have. Let me just go and open a new tab here. Okay, I can continue for 5 minutes, right? Just give me 5 minutes, all of you. Just let me know yes or no, because I know that I will not take your extra time. Can I continue for 5 minutes? Am I audible, all of you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
oh, just give me 5 minutes. Not more than 5 minutes. See, this particular link, which this is a .html actually. I just clicked on this and maybe I connected from my right now I have connected from my mobile phone because there is a power cut. So maybe because of that it is somewhat slow. So as we have used read underscore CSV, we have used read underscore Excel. Similarly, here we can make use of something called as read underscore HTML. Okay, so let this particular data come. Okay, so I was talking about read underscore HTML. There is one limitation to read underscore HTML. What happens is read underscore HTML can read only that data from the web page which is in the form of table. Right. Later on, I'll be talking about some basic things about HTML code also. So how this page is actually designed. So one thing I remember is that whatever I am trying to see on this particular page, right? This is a failed bank list, right? These are the names of the people who might have failed to pay the interest on the loan or loan, something like that, right? So we are able to read from this particular page with the help of pandas package. So read underscore HTML package is going to help us to do that. But as I told you that there is a limitation. There is a limitation for read underscore HTML, and that limitation is that
Screen is not visible, sir.
no, wait, I'm just sharing the screen actually. Yeah, now I hope you people are able to see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I was talking about this one, that this particular web page we are going to read now, but I was saying that the limitation of HTML read.html is that it only reads tabular data from the web page. See, this is the link I have. I will copy this link. I will go to Jupyter. So this Jupyter I will go. This one. Now pandas dot read underscore HTML, something like this I have here, and I will just go and I will try to paste the link, right, and then just run it. So what you are able to see is everything from that page, right? So what I will do is, suppose let me just assign it to some variable df. So df is going to show me everything, but not properly, right? It is actually showing me in the form of a list. What I can do is df of 0, I can index it, and now you will be able to see that I am going to see everything from that page. But everything means what? Only the data which is in the form of table. So you can read what you can read from what you can read with the help of read underscore HTML method. You can read the data which is in the tabular form. But if you want to read some image, if you want to read some other content, or if you want to read everything from HTML page, there is something which we'll be talking about later on. It's actually a package, and that package is called as Beautiful Soap 4. BS4 is the name of the package, right? So just to overcome the limitations of read underscore HTML, we can make use of this. But yes, tabular data you can actually read with the help of read underscore HTML, right? So that is the last point, I think, from pandas package. Yes, I think, yeah, this is the last point. Don't worry about this SQL. This is not we are going to need at least for your syllabus. So yes, whatever I wanted to talk about pandas, that is done. Maybe in the next session, what I will do is I will try to talk about Seaborn and we will try to finish it, and that will be all about the package design. Okay. So before that, can we have some extra session in between? Is it possible for you to do as this 1 hour? We could not actually start early, right?
Saturday you can take.
Okay, then that will be good. At least for 1 hour I will take. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Maybe I will let you know on WhatsApp group about the time. Okay, guys. Thank you. Then just send your numbers and names in the chat box, and then I will stop this. Yes, those who are present, just send your numbers and names.